Good morning, students. So, until now, we were studying about the topic known as pollination. So, as we have studied about pollination, we studied about three types of pollination and then the agents of pollination. The agents of pollination are of two types. One is abiotic, that is non-living pollinators, and biotic, that is living pollinators. So abiotic and biotic pollinators. In abiotic pollinators, that is the medium is wind and water, and in biotic it is insects, mammals, birds. There are different types of biotic agents. Now we will study hereafter we'll study about the adaptations in flowers for pollinations. Okay, the adaptations of in flowers for pollination. Now what do you mean by this adaptation? Now what do you mean by this adaptations? Adaptation is nothing but the changes which the flowers do so that the pollination can take place easily. Okay, the pollination can take place easily. One among the adaptation, if example I need to give, then if I'll take about the frogs. So what happens? The frogs change their body temperature according to the temperature of the surrounding. Yes, they change their body temperature according to the temperature of the surrounding and all. So it is kind of an adaptation, no? The changes which the organism takes place within it, the organism takes place within it, so that the process can go on smoothly. Okay, the process can go on smoothly. So adaptation in flowers for pollination, that is pollination is nothing but the transfer of the pollen grain from the anther to the stigma, the transfer of the pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. The first pollination is wind pollination. Wind pollination is nothing but where the wind is a medium for the pollination process. The wind is the medium for the pollination process, and wind pollination is known as anemophily. Remember this. It is one of the important questions, students. Adaptation in flowers for pollination can be asked. The question can be asked in this way also. What are the adaptations of the wind pollinated and water pollinated plants? Okay, wind pollinated and water pollinated plants. So this question has been asked time and again. It has been asked in your question papers. So please make sure you mark this as important question. Okay, important question. And also remember, wind pollination is nothing but anemophily. Now, what is anemophily? Anemophily is nothing but it's a wind pollination process. What it is? It is a wind pollinated process or wind pollination process. So the question can be asked in this way also. Give the adaptations of anemophilous flowers or anemophilic flowers. So anemophily is what? Anemophily is nothing but wind pollination. Anemophilic flowers is nothing but wind pollinated flowers. What they are? Wind pollinated flowers. So these are some noted adaptations of wind pollination. Okay, noted adaptations of wind pollination. The pollen grains are light in weight. Okay, remember the first one is the pollen grains are light in weight, non-sticky and winged. Now why it is? See, pollen grains, I told you, they are the one which has to be transferred from one flower to another flower. Yes, you know that the pollen grains are the one which has to be transferred from one flower to another flower. This you all know about it. Now, when I say about anemophilous flower, the pollen grains are lighter in weight, means they are very light. Okay, they are very light. What do you mean by light? Means it do not have weight at all. Okay, you have seen the hibiscus flower pollen grains, right? Very small and light in weight. If you blew it with the air, it can easily move. Yes or no? If you blew air on it, it can easily move. So they are light in weight. And why they are light in weight? So that they can easily move with the wind currents. Okay, they can easily move with the wind. They can easily move because of the wind. So they are light. Next is non-sticky. Now, why one more? It is non-sticky, students. It is non-sticky because it shouldn't go and stick to any surfaces. Okay, it shouldn't go and stick to any surfaces. Now, for example, if it is sticky in nature, sticky means which can go and stick to any places. Okay, it can go and stick to any places. If it's sticky in nature, it will go and paste on any of the surfaces, right? It can go and fall stick to the rocks, stones, in the trees, anywhere. Yes or no? So it should be non-sticky. Clear? It should be it is non-sticky means it doesn't go and stick to any of the surfaces. Okay, third one is it is winged. Winged means it has got a wing like structure. Okay, wings, you know, no, birds wings, it has to be, it is kind of a winged like structure. Yes, it is like a wing like structure, you can see here in the picture. Yes, why it is a wing like structure? So that can easily move. Yes, it can help in the movement. Okay, it has a wing like extensions to aid wind transport so that it can move easily. So the wing like structure is present, that is the wing like pollen grains are present. Okay, it is a winged pollen. Clear? It is a winged pollen. And why it is a winged pollen, students? Because it can easily move. Okay, it can easily move. It has got wing like extension to aid wind transport. Okay, to aid wind transport. So now you need to remember, in the wind pollinated flowers, pollen grains are lighter in weight, they are non-sticky, and they are winged. Okay, they are winged. And why they are winged? So that they can move from one place to another, one flower to another flower easily, one flower to another flower easily. So pollen grains are light, non-sticky, and winged. The anther is well exposed. Yes. Now, why the anther is well exposed? Because so that it can easily, the pollen grains can move. Okay, the pollen grains can be easily moved because of the wind. They can easily move because of the wind. Now you always need to remember, if anytime in between, if I ask you, give me the adaptations of the wind pollinated flowers, or I will say, what are the characteristics of the wind pollinated flowers, then you need to tell me, ma'am, the wind pollen grains are light, they are lighter in weight, they are non-sticky, and they are winged. Why they are winged? So that they can easily move from one flower to another flower. Clear? Second one is anther. Anther is well exposed so that the pollen grains can move easily for the wind pollinated flowers. Yes, they can move easily for the wind pollinated flowers. And the stigma of these flowers, stigma of the wind pollinated flowers is large and feathery. Feathers are there. It's large and feathery. Now, why it is large and feathery? Feathers, you know, the birds also have feathers, right, in them. Yes. Why it is large and feathery? Because the pollen grains can easily come and pollinate their flower or stick to the stigmatic surface. Okay, stick to the stigmatic surface. The stigma is large and feathery. The stigma is large and feathery. Why it is large and feathery? So that the pollen grains can easily come, stick to the stigmatic surface, and pollinate the flowers. Clear? The next one is the flower has got one ovule. You need to remember this, students. Why I'm telling you to, you need to remember this is first thing, because this is one of the major characteristics of the wind pollinated flowers. The question is like for need questions also can be asked this. Okay, the need questions can also be asked this questions like the one ovule. What is the major characteristics of the wind pollinated flower? The questions can be asked. Here, there will be some of the few options, right? In one among them, the option can be there is a one ovule in them. Yes, there is a one ovule in them. So you need to remember this. The wind pollinated flowers is having only one ovule, one single ovule. Clear? Single ovule present in the flowers, arranged as inflorescence. Now, you all are aware about what are inflorescence. Yes, we have studied about the different types of inflorescence. Yes, we have studied about the different types of inflorescence. What is inflorescence, students? Inflorescence is nothing but the arrangement of flowers. Yes, the arrangement of flowers onto the plant or to the apex of the plant. Yes, the arrangement of flowers onto the apex of the flowers, that is the group of the flowers. Yes, the group of the flowers, it's known as inflorescence. Yes, the inflorescence, there are different types of inflorescence. Umbel inflorescence, then there are different type of inflorescence where there are arrangement of flowers on the apex of the stem of the plants. Yes, arrangement of flowers on the apex of the stem on the flowers. You all are aware about what is inflorescence, so I need not to give you a deeper details about it, but you need to remember what is inflorescence. Inflorescence is nothing but the arrangement of flowers. Yes, it is an arrangement or a bunch of flowers. Example is cotton and date palm. Wind pollinated flowers are cotton and date palm. You all have, if you have seen the cotton flowers or the cotton, there is usually the wind pollination takes place. The pollen grains are light-weighted, they are non-sticky, and they are winged. They are light-weighted, non-sticky, and they are winged. So the wind pollination, that is anemophily, you need to remember some of the characteristics. That is, the pollen grains are light, they are non-sticky and winged. The anther is well exposed, stigma is large and feathery, flower has got one ovule arranged in inflorescence. Example is cotton and date palm. And one important of the adaptations of the wind pollination is they produce large number of pollen grains. You need to remember this. The question can be asked like this. Wind pollinated flowers produce large number of pollen grains. Why? The question can be asked in this way. Wind pollinated flowers produce large number of pollen grains. Why? They produce large number of pollen grains because there are the chances of losing the pollen grains. Yes, because it is wind pollinated, right? So there are chances of losing of the pollen grains while they're transferring because of wind, because of somewhere pollen grains going and sitting on some of the surfaces and all. Yes, so there are so many chances where there can be loss of the pollen grains. There can be loss of the pollen grains. So here, the wind pollinated flowers, that is the anemophilous flowers, produce large amount of pollen grains. What they produce? They produce large amount of pollen grains, so that there won't be any loss of the pollen grains, or if there is any loss of the pollen grains as well, the wind pollinated flowers are pollinated. Wind pollinated flowers are pollinated by the pollen grains. The wind pollinated flowers are pollinated by the pollen grains. So this is about the wind pollination. So we have already discussed about the wind pollination. Now let us go on to the water pollination, that is also known as hydrophily. What it is known as? Hydrophily. Hydro, you all know water. Yes, hydro, you all know water. So it is a water pollination process. Water pollination is nothing but water is the medium for the pollination. That is the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. The water is the medium for the pollination process, and it is known as hydrophily. So remember, students, it can be asked like this. Anemophily, it can be asked like hydrophily. So do not get confused. Okay, hydrophily, anemophily is anemophily means wind pollination, hydrophily means water pollination. Now, in which of these plants water pollination takes place? Okay, most of the aquatic plants water pollination takes place. Why aquatic plants? Because water is the medium. Yes, water is the medium. So in the aquatic plants, water pollination, that is the hydrophily, takes place. In some of those plants are bryophytes, pteridophytes, and algae. Bryophytes, pteridophytes, and algae. So you all know bryophytes. Which of those are like Markensia? Those plants, bryophytes. Pteridophytes are the ferns. Algae, so spirulina, Spirogyra are some of the algae where the water pollination takes place. So water, when I say about water pollination, here it is simple that the water is a medium for the pollination process. So what are the different characteristics of these pollinated plants? Which are the different characteristics of these pollinated plants, and what are the example of water pollination? Examples of water pollination are bryophytes, pteridophytes, and algae. So one of the characteristics is pollen grains are protected by mucilaginous covering. So the first characteristic is the pollen grains are protected by mucilaginous covering. Now, what do you mean by this? Mucilaginous covering. Mucilaginous covering means nothing but a covering. Okay, a covering, a kind of a waxy covering on the pollen grains. Okay, a kind of the waxy covering on the pollen grains. Now, mucilaginous is nothing but a kind of a waxy sheath. Clear? A oily kind of a sheath, students. So, it is protected by a mucilaginous covering. So, one kind of a waxy layer is present on the surface of these pollen grains. Okay, you know, no, the cuticle present in the leaf. Yes, in the hydrophilus plants and all, the cuticle is present, one waxy layer. The similar way, one mucilaginous covering or mucilaginous sheath is present on the pollen grains. Okay, and it is for the protection, so that it is not carried away with the water, or it is not, the pollen grains are not lost because of water. The pollen grains are not lost because of water. The pollen grains are protected by the mucilaginous sheath. Okay, the waxy covering on it. Example are some of the freshwater plants, Vallisneria and Hydrilla, seagrass, that is Zostera. Okay, seagrass, it is Zostera. Examples are very important. So it can be asked for you. What are the characteristics of water pollinated plants, and give example? The question can be asked in this way. What are the, what are the characteristics of the water pollination plants, or what do you mean by water pollination, and what are the examples? So here you can give easily. Freshwater plants, Vallisneria and Hydrilla is example. Seagrass, Zostera is a example, and it is protected by a mucilaginous covering, that is a waxy layer on it. Yes, a waxy layer on it. What are the main features of the water and wind pollinated plants? I told you already. Here, the question can be asked for you. What are the characteristics of the wind and water pollinated plants? One of the important questions, students. The question can be asked, what are the features of the wind and the water pollinated plants? The first one is they produce large number of pollen grains. Now, why they do produce large number of pollen grains? They produce large number of pollen grains, so that if some of the pollen grains are lost in the water also, the other remaining pollen grains can pollinate these flowers. Yes, if some of the pollen grains are lost in the water also, these remaining pollen grains can pollinate the flowers. So large number of pollen grains are produced. The first one, and they do not produce nectar. This question also can be asked now. Okay, the question can be asked in this way also. Wind and water pollinated flowers do not produce nectar. Why? So the answer is very simple. Because water is an abiotic agent. It is an abiotic pollinating agent. Water is an abiotic pollinating agent. It do not have to attract, the flowers do not have to attract anyone. Okay, it do not have to attract the insects, it do not have to attract the birds, it do not have to attract the mammals, it do not have to attract any bees, nothing it has to attract. Okay, nothing it has to attract. So they do not produce any nectar, any kind of odor, any kind of color. Okay, they do not produce any kind of nectar, neither it produces any odor, that is a fragrance, or neither it produces any color. So most of the water pollinated and wind pollinated flowers are kind of light colors, not very dark and attractive colors, or they are white color only. They do not have any kind of a color. Okay, so water pollination, which is known as also known as hydrophily. Examples are bryophytes, marchantia, Rixia are the examples in bryophytes. Pteridophytes, you know, different types of ferns, Pteris vittata, and different types of ferns, and algae. Okay, algae is an example. So what is the major characteristics? They produce large number of pollen grains. They do not produce nectar because they do not have to attract any kind of insects, birds, or humans also. And they are protected by mucilaginous covering. Pollen grain is protected by mucilaginous covering. Freshwater plants such as Vallisneria and Hydrilla is an example. Seagrass, Zostera is an example. You see this water pollinated flowers, one among them is uh, Eichhornia is an example also, and the lotus is an example. Now coming to mechanism of pollination in Vallisneria and seagrass. Mechanism of pollination in Vallisneria and seagrass. So what happens here? So students, Vallisneria is a water surface. Okay, Vallisneria is a water surface aquatic plants, whereas the seagrass is totally submerged in the water. The seagrass is totally submerged in the water, whereas the Vallisneria, you can find it on the surface of the water. Now what happens here? The female flower remains intact. The female flowers remain intact with the plant. Okay, it doesn't move. Whereas the male gamete, that is the pollen grain, moves with the water current and reaches to the female plant. Okay, or the female flower. The male flower, the pollen grains, what happens? The male flower, it moves with the water current and reaches to the female flower and pollinates it. Now, once again, I'm repeating, the plant is intact over here in the water. The female flower do not move at all, whereas the male flower or the pollen grains move with the water currents and reaches the female flower. Move with the water current and reaches the female flower. Clear? Here also in the seagrass, same thing happens. What happens here? In the seagrass also same thing happens. The pollen grains with the water currents move towards the female flower. They female flower, they come and pollinate. When they come, the male flower come in contact with the female flower, they pollinate the flower, and in this way pollination takes place. Here the water current helps in the movement of this male flower and to reach the female flower. The water current helps in the movement of the male flower to reach the female flower and pollinate it. Are you understanding, students? What happens here? Vallisneria is a surface plant, whereas with the surface, the movement of the pollen grains takes place. The movement of the pollen grain takes place, it reaches the female flower and the pollination takes place. Whereas in the seagrass, it is submerged in the water. The male flower or the pollen grains reaches there, pollinates the flower, and the pollination takes place. Pollinates the flower and the pollination takes place. The water is the medium. You know, right? How it must be moving, like for example in the moving water or in the water, when you leave a paper boat, Yes, the paper boat. The paper boat moves because of the flow. Yes, the paper, it doesn't have any kind of the any kind of just push or anything. Once you give a push, it goes along with the water current. Yes, it goes along with the water current. In the similar way here also, the male flowers are released in the water. Yes, the male flowers are released in the water, or the pollen grains are released in the water. With the water currents, that with the movement of the water, they reach to the female flower. Okay, they reach to the female flower, pollinate it. Okay, pollinate it. So these are the example in Vallisneria and seagrass. So the mechanism of the pollination in Vallisneria and seagrass can be asked students. The mechanism of pollination in Vallisneria and seagrass can be asked, and it is important. Once again, I am repeating here. It's important, I have told you. Vallisneria is a surface plant. It comes, the flower will come on the surface of the water. So what happens? The pollen grains will move, come to the female flower and pollinate it. Whereas the seagrass is the submerged. Yes, it is inside the water. What happens? The male flowers or the pollen grains will reach to the inside or submerge inside into the water, reach to the seagrass and then pollinate it. Reach to the seagrass and then pollinate it. So this is one of the important mechanism, and the question can be asked. The question can be asked students. So it is one of the important topic or an important question. Okay, so coming to pollination by animals. So in the pollination by animals, now it is entirely biotic. Why it is biotic? Because it is done by the living organism. Okay, pollination by animals, it is done by the living organism, and it is known as zoophily. What it is known as? Zoophily. Until now, we studied about abiotic. Yes, until now, we studied about abiotic pollinators or abiotic pollinating agents. So in abiotic pollinating agents, we studied about water and wind. Yes. Now, when we study about the biotic agents, we are going to study about pollination by animals. And that pollination by animals is nothing but zoophily. Okay. Before we go front, we'll just go with the abiotic. We studied about wind pollination, that is anemophily, it is known as. These are the different characteristics, and one of the very important one, students. It is an important question, can be asked for you. You need to remember what are the different adaptations or the characteristics of these flowers, wind pollinated flowers. Next, coming to water pollination, that is hydrophily. So the examples of the water pollinated plants, how is the pollen grain in it, and what are the main features of the wind and the water pollinated plants, and the examples are very important. Clear? Then the mechanism of pollination of Vallisneria and seagrass, which I have already told you, it is also very important. Okay, it is also very important. So pollination by animals. In this, it is known as zoophily. Then in this, there are different types. There are different agents of, like in the agents of pollination, when we come in the zoophily, we come across entomophily, we come across ornithophily, we come across chiropterophily, melecophily, and myrmecophily. Okay. So these are the different types of zoophily, that is pollination by animals. Okay, so when we study about the pollination by animals, we are also going to study about the different types of pollination. Yes, the different types of pollination. So we will be studying about this pollination by animals, that is zoophily, the characteristics of these flowers, and also the different types of pollination in the next class. If you have got any doubt, any confusion, anything you have to ask me, you can personally contact me and you can ask. You also know, as you most of you have my contact, and also and many of you know my mail ID as well. So any of this confusion, anything you want me to repeat once again in the next class, you can tell me there so that I can explain it to you once again. Clear? So let us help each other by understanding what is actually like you are trying to like understand in this particular chapters. Once again, I'm telling you, this chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, is a very important chapter. Maximum questions are asked from this particular chapter, and all the topics, definition, differentiation are important. Is it clear? Yes. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.